Yeah. Okay, it tells you. All right, well, welcome everybody. We'll call the meeting to order. And I would like for you all to please stand and let's do the allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First, I hope that everybody had a great Thanksgiving. And glad to see everyone here tonight. No, it'll be as long as a week as it was last month. We just had three primary matters that are on the agenda tonight. But if we'll look at the agenda that you have before us, the first thing is to adopt and or amend the agenda. And ask if you all have anything, but before doing that, you want to go ahead and add two items, but they must pay. Under new business, the first item add would be hopefully vote for the December meeting. I don't think that we'll need it, but we'll wait until the end of the meeting to determine that. And two, during the course of the day today, the mayor got an email from Thomas Jefferson Planning District about their on-call consulting services, scope of services that they're providing to everybody in the planning district when needed. So I'm just going to pass that out and have an awareness of it. That's the second. Does anyone else have anything you'd like to add to or to make any change to the agenda? Hearing none, can I have a motion to approve the amended agenda?
I move we approve the amended agenda.
Motion by Ms. Ball for approval of the amended agenda. Do I hear a second?
I second.
Second from Ms. Bullock. Sure, there's no further discussion on that, so I'll call for the vote. And is there any reason why I can't just go with a hand vote versus going around the table? All those in favor, raise your hand. We'll do that. So all five of us. Motion passes unanimously. All right, on to the minutes. The minutes were sent out to you at the beginning of the week, and there were some final changes made to that. And those, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, is in front of everybody.
Correct.
So if you haven't had a chance to look at that, and if you noticed anything you want to change, might take a moment to look good and see if that change has been made. I'm satisfied. I think they're good, very good. Anybody want to comment or anybody see anything that needs to be changed with the minutes? Being around the table and seeing biting at the bit.
The minutes that have been said.
Did you say that again?
A motion that we passed the minutes that have been said.
Thank you. We have a motion to approve the minutes as presented to us tonight.
I'll second it.
And we have a second from Ms. Ball pertaining to that. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of approval of the minutes before you tonight, raise your hand. Yes. 5-0 unanimous on approval of those minutes. Thank you, Amanda. Good job. Old business, the first item on the agenda is from the last meeting. We had a public hearing on this market conditional use for gas pumps. And I think basically what was said, the public hearing was closed, and then we asked for staff to work on the items that were discussed and what had been brought up by the applicant and what was discussed during the meeting, and come back with something that would pull all those thoughts and ideas together that we could vote on. Mr. Jarvis, can you address that?
Yes, sir. So first of all, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. In front of you, you should have a letter that was from myself as the acting town manager to Mr. AJ Singh. And I captured the essence of the conversation. I shortened it because some of it was pretty lengthy. There's a couple of things that I just want to bring to your attention. So, as you can see, Mr. Singh has agreed to everything. But there's a couple of things that I talked to the chairman about, for example, going down to number 7. The town is going to interact with VDOT because as far as reducing the speed limit and stuff like that, that's usually a town function. That should be the applicants and stuff. And so we'll get a hold of VDOT and make sure that there's no possible issues. I'm not anticipating any since he already has a grocery store there. And I'm not thinking that all of a sudden everybody's going to be running to the gas station because it's there. But I just want to bring that to your attention. The other thing is number 5, as you spoke about, there used to be a well there. The town, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on your point of view, we don't have a lot of requirements that people have to jump through hoops on. As long as it meets our code, then the administrator will sign off and will give the letter to the applicant, and he or she will go, and then, oh, now you're into the big boy girl league. They have a lot more hoops you got to jump through. And so, and I think it should be that way because if, for example, I'm just going to do something and it's going to cost me a lot of money, I want to get through this hoop before I got to spend that money. So we just put a couple things in there that to ensure that before the county issues a building permit, that they at least address. And that may not be the county, it might be the health department, since the health department does all water and wells and stuff. So those are really the only 2 things that I wanted to bring to your attention that were I took a little liberty and wordsmith that a little differently. So other than that, I think everything is as you all talked about. That's all I have, unless you have any specific questions for me and stuff.
All right, let's just read those real quickly since we're all taking a look at it now. And go ahead and do that. And one by one, any comments regarding it? Number 1, hours of operation. Hours of operation for gas pumps to be 24/7, provided the level of lighting is reduced over the entire parcel. Comments? I think that's what we talked about at the last meeting. The majority were in agreement with that. Any other thoughts pertaining to that? If not, I'll go on to number 2. Y'all stop me when you want to talk, if you do, about any of these. Number 2, number of pumps. Consensus was for the inclusion / restriction of 2 pumps with 4 dispensers in all for this conditional use. I believe that's exactly the way it was submitted in the application. Number 3, lighting. Requires dark sky lighting techniques to be required on all facilities in the parking area of the total business and to neighboring properties as much as possible. Canopy design, signage on the canopy and lighting below, around, and the timing of the canopy emphasizing dark sky lighting techniques. Certainly no dark sky lighting was pretty much emphasized and mentioned quite a bit. Any comments or questions?
Just the wording, I mean, it's really called light pollution. So I mean, it doesn't, you know, it's just that less light pollution.
Yeah, and the reason it's night sky lighting is that's the official code for Louisa County. They don't use light pollution.
Really?
Even though I agree that they're talking about, they think that's a dirty word, so God, hey, it's okay to call it night sky light.
Yellow. Comments? Number 4, U-Haul rentals. Limit the number of U-Haul vehicles on premises at any one time to 6 or less. Also, no tractor trailer parking shall be permitted on the business property.
But doesn't parking involve when he gets deliveries? So that's kind of not really,
You see, I agree. I think that what was brought up was no overnight parking. And it doesn't say that here. It says, what does it say? Also, no tractor trailer parking shall be permitted on the business property. Of course, they gotta have deliveries and people may come there and park some number of hours all day long, and who wants to monitor that? But I think the focus was on no overnight parking. So would y'all like to clarify that in here? I know that's what I remember.
I think it should be clarified, just because when we're talking about enforcement, we don't ever want this to go back. You know, like this conditional use permit is what is enforced, and then that's gonna negatively impact Mr. Singh. So I think it's in his best interest that we clarify.
I think that would be a change lesson or to be lenient, I'll say it that way, I guess.
Yes.
On the picture.
No tractor trailer overnight parking. Consensus is to remove that, right? Okay. Number 5, previous well on property. Requires engineering report to be made available to the town or county prior to issuing a building permit. So what I think I understood from what you were describing, Mr. Jarvis, was that that this will be looked into, and it will be the county building department or the health department or something.
Yeah, specifically, I'm not directing that the county do it, but what we're saying is if there's a report that is mandated by their ordinance or by some type of DEQ thing, that they make that report available to us.
Comments regarding.
Thought we were worried about it not being closed. It being open.
Talking about being concerned that it's secure, that you wouldn't have it particularly cave in.
Yeah, I think the concern was that it was improperly or potentially could have been improperly closed, as was the case for many wells in this area on many properties in town limits.
Right. Two ideas.
The actual containers that will be, they are standard, the ones that are proper, there would be no issues with that. So I think just that being addressed, I thought it satisfied any other conditions it wouldn't be related to development, it would be something that really is, I guess, as what Ed was just going to say too, something that the county would be responsible, the town would be responsible for, not the applicant.
For the well,
For the well,
the town.
isn't that an environment?
Their well.
environmental is the environment.
So the health department usually checks the wells, and when they're closed or they're abandoned, the health department has to go out and check them. Is there a way to get, I guess that's what this is saying,
Get a report.
get a report, but I don't know that the county itself requires a report from them if the current property is getting public sewer and water. It does, they won't require a report for the well. Right. At all. So is there a way to get something that we could say we wanted something from the health department to just know that they are aware of the well and that it's closed?
Yeah, so just as a general comment, the health department, unless you illegally drilled a well, they should know where all the wells are in the county. To your point, Nicole, you're right. Once a well has been closed, it's forever. They don't care unless at some point the well is going to be back operational or somebody's next door is going to build a house. And then they'll say, well, so-and-so's property's got a well and you gotta be X amount of feet away from it, especially if you're going to put a well in and there's, already a well or a sewer system. What we're trying to do here is, I guess, ensure that the county knows that there's a well and whether there's any new laws since that well was done or any new guidance that says, hey, is this well safe? Because this individual is going to build on it. Or they may say, no, we don't have any, it's closed and we don't have any issue. Because from a DEQ point of view, if it was closed right, there shouldn't be an issue.
Right, so what the county will do is they'll ask the applicant when they get a building permit.
Yeah.
If they're public water or they have a well.
That's
If
right.
they say they're public water, they don't look at the well.
Right.
So it would be, I think, beneficial to have something from the health department that says the well has been closed. If we could do that. Because otherwise, the building department, they don't care.
Yeah.
If an applicant says they're public water. They won't go into it well.
Yeah, there's something like emphasis on verification. The well has been safely and satisfactorily closed.
Yeah, I know, just to make sure that it's not open.
There wouldn't be any documentation of that type of work on the files or records somewhere? Being closed or not closed?
It would be with them.
It's kind of tough because, I don't even know when that well was closed and yet they were allowed to pave over it. So one would assume, hey, everybody's forgotten it. And lucky for us or not lucky, I mean, we've had tractor trailers drive right over it and park on it and, obviously it's closed. It's not collapsed. We haven't had an issue, but, we don't really have any jurisdiction or meat in something that says that a well has to be closed this way and it's got to be inspected and stuff like that. I mean, most wells you see, they still got the big cement.
Right.
Unless you got the newest ones and then it's about this big, but if you close that, nobody ever comes by until you have a tragedy where somehow a kid falls into it, so I don't know. I'll personally take and talk to the health department tomorrow to try to get their take on that, and then I'll pass that on to Mr. Cubey for him to disseminate.
So do we want to add anything specific to the well closure or leave it as provided here?
Just contingent upon the findings of, what we're looking at. Yay or nay to moving forward. But just having some kind of condition with it, just fine.
Will the health department, this is, I guess, a procedural question, will the health department come out and inspect it if the applicant requests that it be inspected?
So the health department will only come out and inspect it if the building official requests it. They can request the building official to come out and inspect it or to have it inspected.
Okay.
But the health department usually has to get that request from the building official.
Okay.
That's how it's normally done. It could be different in Louisa, but I would assume they all usually follow the same procedure. It doesn't sound like they'll be able to inspect it.
No, because it's paved over.
It's paved over.
Right.
So if it was, if it was closed, if it was, my thing is that if it's paved over. If you're gonna have to dig up the pavement and set all the. That's gonna have to happen to set all the. Do we know where it's located? Like, these are the questions around the well. So if it's properly closed, it kind of doesn't matter, but if it's not, now you have a big open hole that has a cement lid that has pavement over it. When you start digging it up, it's
Right.
now open again. So I just, that was a concern of like, what does that look like and what's in there? So I don't know, I mean, DDH should have something on it, and maybe they don't. Old. So. That was just, I don't know if they do, it would be good to.
I was just wondering too, like with, new just technology as to even if we're digging up something, they've got equipment that can some type of, go over and actually do that type of.
There is, my younger brother, he does that kind of work where they go through and it's radiation, it's like an X-ray, but it's big machine. But there's very few companies that do it and I know it's quite costly.
And I guess I would caution the group that that's not a requirement that we have. So, I mean, let's not look to the mountain and say, gee, I wish that was in the ordinance.
Yeah.
What she's talking about is what we call ground radar equipment. So, I mean, I'd like to assume, rightly or wrongly, that they properly closed it because we haven't had any issues on it. I'm certainly going to talk to the health department just to see if they have any information. But depending on how old it is, they may have archived it or destroyed it. So if they have information, I will pass that on to Mr. Cubey, but they may be like, look, it was closed and so it's not an issue that you put the house over the top of it.
For our purposes, could we reword number 5 to say that the applicant should consult the building official, the county building official regarding the previous well on the property? Obviously, that's going to be part of the process anyway for the building permit to be issued. But just so that on our end, we're doing our due diligence to say this is something that we want you guys to be careful about and look into if you're going to do this property.
So, yeah. Sure, consult county and Virginia Department of Health
Right.
pertaining to the status of the closing of the well. They're gonna do it?
I think that's satisfactory.
Let's see.
That way everybody's covered really, I mean.
Right.
Yeah. That's wrong. Sorry. Thanks to the rate county.
So the county, we're talking about the county building department, say the county.
The county building official.
I bet you they have a protocol, I mean, something's already set up. for that.
Well, the health department is co-located with them.
Right.
So when there's a well involved,
They
they send it all the way to the other window with your $300 that they charge you.
Right, it's not trying to delay anymore. It's done.
What I've written down here is the applicant shall consult with the county building official and VDH concerning the proper and safe no closing on site.
Yep,
Good,
I think that's perfect.
do it.
Mhm.
And AJ, I'll give you a chance to comment when we're through each of these, okay?
I think that would likely be part of the building permit process
Yeah.
anyway, correct?
They ask if you're,
If you're, oh, right, but because he's public, we're asking him to disclose to them that there is a well.
Right.
Okay.
Number 6, the entire parking lot or village market should be resurfaced, parking spaces sized as required by town code and shall be painted on the parking lot. So I think you, Mr. Williams, brought up about the parking lot being repaved, correct?
Yeah, that was already gonna be, we already addressed that, saying that was part of the whole project.
Right, and parking spaces was brought up, and they be the proper size as what's required in the proper number, whatever that may be, according to the town code. It sound all right as is? Okay, so. And number 7, VDOT should be consulted on traffic entrances, safety, possible requirement of one-way traffic through the parking area for added safety around gas pumps area. The Blind Hill approaches along Mineral Avenue and concerning the benefit of reducing the speed limit to 25 miles per hour prior to issuing the building permit. And I heard the mayor mention about the 25 miles per hour. You know, that I don't think that decision would be based upon this action before us tonight. But I do know, and I'll point out that during our discussion that we so far had about the comprehensive plan, that there is a lot about considering reducing the speed limit. And it's already 35, so 25 is probably a good chance that that's what it comes to. But it'll only be based on looking at the whole road, not that spot.
Right.
So do y'all want to strike this 25 miles per hour out of here? And concerning the benefit of reducing the speed limit to 25 miles per hour to issue the building, I guess it was talking about before issuing the building permit. There's no way that it could get reduced that quickly.
Right, and I also think it's not his responsibility that's our responsibility, so it should not be part of the conditional use permit.
Concerning Blind Hill, which is on. You want to just scratch that whole part from and concerning the benefit of reducing speed limit. Scratch that. Anything else? Is the discussion of what's here or anything that's missing that you remember that we thought should be it? Floor is open for discussion. Madam Attorney, is it okay for me to ask Mr. Singh what he thinks, having heard what we just discussed? Okay, Mr. Singh, so what we did was change number 4 to just have that restriction on overnight parking of tractor trailers, not carte blanche. Number 5, the applicant shall consult with the county building official and VDH for the safe closing on site is an additional clarification, but it probably still is in line with what was going to take place anyway. You got to go to the county. Studies were going to be done of some sort. And the only other thing, item number 7, reducing the speed limit thing to not being applicable for the decision on this tonight. So that part got reduced out of it. You had written, I agree with all the conditions, and the conditions are now slightly changed. How do you feel about what's been discussed?
Seems reasonable. It's all possible. Okay with it.
Okay. Anything else you wanted to add? Thank you very much. Again, the public hearing was closed last meeting and other things, things this want to discuss before I call for a motion pertaining to conditions and the condition. All right, hearing none, then the floor is open for a motion. It means, like I say, there's 2 things that need to be addressed. I believe it was the, to approve and deny the conditional use. Conditions that as advised for our discussion. Say two things, but it's probably all in one. Don't need to be two different motions, what I'm saying.
Okay, I move we approve Mr. Singh's conditional use permit with our amendments that were previously discussed.
As presented tonight with the amendment.
Correct.
And a second. Nicely said.
Can you clarify for me, so you're making a motion to approve or to recommend to council the approval of
Yes.
the conditions as amended?
Let me clarify. Yeah, sorry, that was a long, motion. Hard to get it out of my mouth this late in the. Great. I make a motion that we recommend council approve Mr. Singh's conditional use permit with the amendments that we have made tonight on number 4 and number 5.
5
Number 5 and number 7, yes,
and 4.
overnight, yeah,
I think you just say it's amended.
as amended. Do I have to say?
No. That's, yeah.
All right, I'm not gonna repeat it.
It's neither.
I scared you just said.
The tape is there to cover, it, but it is, in essence, asking or motioning to approve it, the conditional use permit as far as to advise the town council of the recommendation to approve it with these revisions. So, does anybody have anything to add before I call?
Thing, and to send the,
Send it to council.
You send the, yes, and send the recommendation to council.
All right, everybody ready? Start this way and come around. Ms. Bullock?
Yes.
Yeah, Ms. Ball?
Yes.
My vote, no. Your vote, Nicole?
No.
Your vote, yes. All right, the motion passes 3-2. And you know what the vote of each one was. Motion will be put together and sent on to town council so they will be aware of it at their December meeting. Thank you very much. All right, let's see. That takes care of the Miller Park conditional use permit. That's the second item on the agenda is comprehensive plan update. As just an FYI, I did call the Thomas Jefferson Planning District today. I talked with Curtis, I can't pronounce his last name, but he was here at the last meeting. And I asked him some questions as to if they were already working on this, how they're coming along. And also you're aware that the scope and the MOU have not been signed as of yet by council because they have to have a public hearing on it because of the effect on the budget. More than 1% change requires that to be done. So that will happen, I think, on December the 11th, but they haven't acted as of yet. So I was told that they are still working on it because they knew that we were interested in it and feel that we will still carry through with it. And so they're making progress and working on it. And he asked if I had any specific questions about it. I told him that part of our agenda tonight was to also look at the MOU and scope, even though we've already voted at our last meeting to recommend it to council. What I wanted to bring up, and I'm just going to throw it all in right now. The scope says that there are to be 3 workshop sessions, all of those with the planning commission. My mouth is traveling. Give me a second. And 2 public hearings, one of which would be with the planning commission holding its own public hearing. The second would be with the council holding its public hearing. And he said, that's right. How do y'all feel about that? My opinion is, I don't know why we'd have 3 work sessions ourselves and then the council not have to have any. They don't have to have any, they just have to vote to approve it, public hearing. But if you're going to, and the funding is to approve 3 work sessions. I asked him, did he think that 2 work sessions with the council and then 1 work session with the 2 work sessions with the planning commission, 1 session with the council. And he said, can be done any way you want to do it. You can do it in different ways. But often what we do is we have 2 of them with your planning commission initially, and then have a joint work session with the planning commission and council. And then after that's done with the public, then you go out and have your 2 separate meetings. I think that makes a lot of sense. I don't know why we would need them to conduct 3 workshop sessions for us. And then we are the only ones that have heard the public in any aspect of it. And then they wrap it up and give it to the planning commission. They hold a public hearing. I mean, pass it on to the council. I think if we have a joint final workshop session with the public and have the council and our planning commission together, that would probably be valuable to everybody. Make any difference to you? The funding is the same if you have 3.
Right, it's just how we split it up.
Yeah. And it's not our decision, it'll be council's decision.
I think it's valuable to have council's input before we send it to them, for the sake of not having to redo work, right?
Yeah. So my thought is maybe you brought up at the last meeting that you'd like to see us have charts and things out there for initial
For the public.
and let the public, throw in their ideas of what they'd like to see. So maybe that's what we do in the first work session. And then after that, we have a work session that is concentrated with us and the planning district. And then we end up having a 3rd one that the council's called. And then we should be prepared to be able to move ahead and get action by us and then get action by the council. I asked him if the 1-month delay is in any way to delay completing it. He said he didn't think so. It's scheduled, he said, between June 1st and June 30th to be complete. And he thinks unless something unusual happens before then, that it should still work fine as far as that timing. So, pertaining to the comprehensive plan, that was the discussion I wanted to have pertaining to it. And I do want to go over that list that we started talking about at our last meeting, but because of time, we didn't go through. I'd like to get through that. We can pass that on up to them, ask them to incorporate that into their thinking of putting the draft together for us. Because they know how it's supposed to be. They already have good things that are in there, but look at our ideas as far as incorporating it in there, and mine are way too wordy. They can sift through that and get the. Yeah, I like that. And I also want to find out if y'all have any more ideas. I did add to your suggestion about the parades.
Thank you. I have a question.
Sure.
Would it be wise when we're thinking about the work sessions? All work sessions are open to the public,
Yes, yeah.
correct?
Absolutely.
Would it be wise to do the first one as an interactive public, like we talked about? And then maybe the second one with the town council, so that the last one is us sitting down with the Thomas Jefferson Planning Committee and like taking everything the council wants to see. I'm just thinking for the sake of being efficient. I don't know, I'm just tossing it out there.
We're gonna pass along to them, and in fact, the mayor's been hearing that. So. I just think, 3 of them are beneficial. I don't see why we need to have 3 and they have.
I think we'll be more efficient if we get them in on it, and maybe the earlier the better, just to.
Yeah.
So that we don't have to make a million.
Yep, I think that's
I've been,
Good thing.
yeah, I've been involved with this before. When it's in Kern County, and I tell you, it's really, it's beneficial as to, like, of course, the first session to open it up, and it's really like meet and greet type thing.
Yeah.
And, less, a little casual, you know what I mean, but just getting people comfortable, getting them to buy in, and then, set the agenda that they'll know exactly what's to come and things of that sort, so that they can participate. But they're great facilitators, things of that sort. So all that we have to do is just be a part of it and really rally around it for the community to be a part of it. So, I mean, I think it'll be a great thing to even, kind of publicize it a little bit as well, because you just get more buy-in when you do that.
It may be that our January meeting can just be that work session versus having to have a separate work session and meeting. But it depends on whether something comes up that drives other business. Yes, sir.
So just food for thought. Remember, I'm along for the ride. I'm just wondering if the first meeting shouldn't be actually with council and planning, make sure we're all on the same sheet of music. Because eventually we're going to see the final product come up to us anyways, but I'm always concerned about being a disconnect. You're having your meeting with the public and stuff, and if somebody throws something out there, it's always good to, if you're met with the town council, you at least have an idea that we're moving this train all in the same direction. And then I don't want any surprises when all of a sudden it comes up and we want to go this way.
I think that's a good point.
Yeah, the only thing is though, I tell you, with doing that, you really want to be involving the public and all of us together at one zest and really being a part of it. And so we go into the background and kind of getting a little, they are part of that.
Well, I agree with you, Tony, and I'm not saying, throw the public out, but it's almost like I want to make sure we, as a collective group, have the vision so that we can all be speaking the same things when the public comes in.
Okay, so all of your settings, the joint session as the first.
Exactly, and then you have,
Right.
Second one
is the public,
come and actually be involved and solicited to.
absolutely, and then.
The idea that they're all publicized to the public and the public's welcome to all of them, but we make our second meeting, we really put our best foot forward and get the word out there and really work on getting some buy-in and get people here, get engagement.
Yeah, because, let's be honest. We have people who are still kind of learning the lingo and stuff, and that's why these things get drawn out, because you got to bring it down to what I call 101 level. And you hate to have the public like, Jesus, why is he having to?
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, so. But again, council really drives it, but just my thought.
And y'all going to end up being the one on the 11th that decides that.
Yeah.
I think that's a good idea.
Okay. It's just too that, sometimes we underestimate what's out in the community, and sometimes they have better ideas because they have been around, because we've got several, I'm in board of groups and everything, so there's a lot that may come up that we just didn't think about, just being here and just actually being inclusive. And that's, what I was kind of mentioning, everyone, because sometimes you can capture some things like, wow, we didn't even think about that, all of us, the more the merrier.
Right.
But still directed, as to the council and the actual committee, planning committee is going to be massaging it, but sometimes it's good to hear it all, because what they used to do is like this board with everybody's, ideas and everything, and then forming groups. Everybody starts to kind of get together and working arm to arm with the community, have them be a part of just all of that to see what takes place and buying in and being a part of it. So that can be, we really doing it and found out a whole lot of other things that we just didn't think about as committee and council and things of that sort that came from.
And Tony and I, of course, were part of the last comprehensive that took about 2.5 years. So,
Yeah, I think it is excellent to have the public come in and very much participate in a meeting. And for that to be guided by the planning district, not guided by us. So, yeah, I think that's probably a good approach to take. In this particular case, we're not starting from scratch. We're starting with already
Right.
developed one that we're enhancing.
right,
So, yeah, maybe we meet to see that the planning commission and council are somewhat, close together in liking or disliking the things that, that are being considered.
well,
And then because they're going to be wanting to pull out, more ideas and get feedback from the public, then you'd be in a better place to do that after we've gotten our heads together.
so what I would say to you, Ed, I would charge you to maybe go back to Curtis. Just float that idea, because obviously, as Tony said, they got lots of experience. And see if that approach is doable, or they say, oh, no, you don't want to do that. And then we won't go down that.
I think that will work.
We only suggested it because being a part of it before, it was just, that is what we did, but there might be a better, best practice, it might be a better.
And they offered to come to your
Yeah,
council meeting. I don't know if you want to or not, but
well, no, I think I'll offer that up to council and see if they want to have them come and stuff, because again, I think it's a good educational thing for them. And then if they have, questions, they can ask it separate from.
yeah.
Wasting
And I
the-
talked about, they offered to come if y'all wanted them to be there pertaining to the MOU and the scope.
Yeah. Okay,
All right, so that's probably all that we need to do on that. Thank you for your input. If y'all can look in here and pull the most recent list of suggested ideas to have them incorporate in some manner. Appreciate it and try to go through these as quickly as I can make that happen. And I think we're pretty near going for them. We're looking at the document. Yeah, at the top, the third line says for consideration at the November 2023 PCB. So, first couple items we already went over, but, thirdly, number one, foster preservation and recognition of all home buildings, Mineral Avenue east to west, Visa Avenue. Also, I revised because of our discussion to add that little segment of First Street to the, if they connect the two together. You can call that something like the historic downtown center. And I don't know, I saw someone spell this CENTRE. Stop me if you want to talk about it. If you don't say anything, keep on rolling. 2, promote and enhance the historic downtown center area for replacement of existing streetlights with older style historic streetlights. Also provide for patriotic flags and designer banners. Also pursue and evaluate the placement of electrical lines underground along the 3 HTC streets. So again, you got old streetlights, you got a way to put up flags, a way to put up patriotic banners, and try to look for funding and the means, which is expensive, to put electrical lines underground. Y'all agree with that? Number 3, I've got here, no multifamily housing, townhomes or condominiums shall be permitted. And as I thought about that today, if y'all are agreed with that, go back and ask, and maybe I is the proper person to ask, should that begin by something such as create an overlay district or other type of code? Code changes in order to protect and preserve the historic downtown center through or by the rest of what's here in the multifamily housing town. Because you don't have the ability to do that just on those streets now.
Right, I mean, I think we probably in the course of that are going to have to do it that way.
That sounds.
Whether it's an overlay district or other change to your ordinance.
Like a zoning change.
Yeah, but one way or another, if you do that, you're going to have to make that change.
I'm gonna change the word a little bit, and say creating a light district or some other code. Town code changes to protect and preserve that and continue with what I had there.
Okay.
Now again, we had some discussion, this, no advertising and no signs may be placed on the sides of existing buildings or future buildings. Constructed in the historic downtown center, except for advertisements / signs that are related specifically to the business. Read the rest. Comments related to that, concerns. Mrs. Lee.
I'm just going to advise significant caution when you're talking about, certainly, I think you want to look at and revise your sign ordinance at any rate.
Yeah.
You may want to maybe take care of how you phrase even in these early steps for that. So that you may just want to, I think here you're probably fine in this context, but just to have great caution in terms of what the restrictions are on the language that can be used in fine ordinances.
Because Mr. Cuby, you know, during our session, we did revise the signing ordinance, even though.
What it says.
Yeah, I know, now they talked about the lighting, talked about the size. And how close it could be to your neighbor, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm a little disappointed because I'm still trying to find that verbiage amongst them.
It's not in the town code, but it got adopted,
Yeah,
so,
I think I may have found it.
okay.
We'll see.
okay. 5, include the town minimum main thoroughfares, US 522 and 208 within the HGC to facilitate commerce, pedestrian traffic and parking, increase the number of crosswalks. This is where we're getting to some of the things that have been talked about. Facilitate commerce, pedestrian traffic and parking, increase the number of crosswalk and traffic calming techniques. Along the HDC, the priority, the placement of approved crosswalks. It's 3 different locations there. One near the post office, one right there at the first street, where the traffic light is, and another one up near the fire. Going to the next page, additional road improvement key features such as bike lanes, increased street parking, reduced speed limits, and sidewalk improvements. Now, extensions on the sidewalk eastward from 5th Street. Now, that was brought up at the last meeting, and at a previous meeting. And I want to know that y'all, as a group, agree that you want to pursue that extensions of the sidewalk eastward from 5th Street to the east town limits and increase pedestrian information warning sign within the town. Lot there.
It is a lot, I like all of that. Sidewalks, yes, all the sidewalks.
I personally would get on the county's case and get the sidewalks going all the way to the high school and the middle school. I mean, there's no reason why we don't have sidewalks to, because that could certainly help the county in terms of having so many school buses that kids could ride their bikes to school.
Yeah.
And
You'd have to be buying land because there was no right way there. Up through that area.
Well, then maybe that would have to happen then.
There was a grant, I thought, for that to happen a while ago, but we just didn't act upon it.
Yeah, that was a sore spot for sure, yeah. Yeah, we had an opportunity to do a lot of sidewalking and the council or, I don't know, 10 years ago decided they didn't want to spend the $35,000. That was gonna be our cost to do that.
All right, number six, often promote local commercial businesses, particularly along. You can just put it downtown center. I added in there today and looked at it. This word, foster and promote infill of commercial businesses in accord with the adopted zoning ordinance. Other words. Promoting it, but it's also got to be whatever the zoning ordinance now or as changed and amended. Applies. Is that okay with y'all? And I don't know, there's a double space there and it says motifs outside materials of such buildings, residents and structures should be constructed and maintained in keeping with the time period of other historic buildings in HTC. I didn't know how to best say that, but if y'all have some, I don't even know if motifs is efficient or proper. So we're talking about having some kind of standards, I think, for the outside of the buildings that are newly constructed.
Like the facade.
Yeah.
Facade.
And there was a while that we had talked about maybe even creating some type of a facade grant that it'd be a match, you know what I mean? People upgrading their facades for the businesses that they own. So that would be right in harmony with this, you know, kind of having the town and business owners, you know, upgrading their facade. It's actually called a facade. How do you spell that?
FACAD.
Say again.
FACAD.
Always good to have a teacher in the house.
Get rid of motifs, I don't even know what that means. Don't worry, keep on.
I will say that I thought you meant like garden statues. I was thinking, do I have some weird garden statues? I know. Am I over?
So I'm not gonna fight for it. And I do say there are guidelines and samples shall be developed because you can't. You know, provide the information that's hard to individually assess what someone's offering to do. So that'll be a extra duty to somehow come up with. Stop me at any time that you can stop me. Number 7, promote and encourage continuation enhancements to the farmers market at the new town owned. I put in there, you know, that it was a gift in September of 2023. And it's to be called the Whitlock Family Park because that's what the deed said it was to be called. At its current location and support the addition of covered areas, paths, and a stage. I know that the people that donated were satisfied and okay with that. And I know I've heard talk of wanting to put a stage there, a covered area pass, and I've now also heard pass along that the potential and possibility of not being able to make that existing building safe and sufficient for occupancy or use is going to be extremely expensive. So that may happen, and then again, it may not be able to happen. It may be beyond repair. And if that were to happen, then it goes away. All the more reason why you need a covered area and the things to replace it.
Yeah, we're looking at almost $100,000. And that is.
Just for the roof.
Just for the roof.
Just for the roof. Yeah.
So that building is part of the land that was given to the town.
That center block build.
But
Yeah.
And the murals came down.
yeah, so in my mind,
But they said that
The
the guy that painted that mural is still alive. And so he can come back. It'll be costly, but the cost of the building, because just doing the roof is $100,000, but it's so bad that the joists and stuff and the floor are, you can't salvage it. So it would just, yeah.
So there are still floor companies here in Mineral, there's roofing companies here in Mineral, they may donate it for just to say that they've been, giving back to the community. It maybe, I mean, it could be a nice thing that they can. I mean,
Tony, that's why I always love working with you, because you always put positive.
$100,000 donation.
No,
yeah. Yeah,
And that's what I mean, I'm being sincere, and that's why I always loved working with you, because, man, you just always made the rainbow come out.
Things, the hope and the desire of the beautification committee was that it continued. Yeah, because it's already got a mural there.
Well, and the side actually has a big loading dock where you can roll that open and there's your stage. And then you close it and,
I think it was another like $10,000 to repair the door.
yeah, I mean, there's lots of potential in coming over that steep price tag on it.
It's the roof above that has huge holes in it. It's the main floor, the ground level floor.
And it's a flat roof.
That has
Yeah,
holes in it.
that's the costly part.
And the heating and air conditioning, whatever it was, is no count.
I mean, the whole electrical system needs to be totally replaced.
So find money. Or just, oh yeah.
Or we need staff to apply for grants.
Yes.
So we have to have the staff to have the time to do it. But that would be huge, because we don't have the grant, the $15,000 we got, we gave to the fire department. So it's like, yeah, we need to apply for grants. There's money out there,
It's out
but
there, yeah.
we need the time to apply for those.
I can tell you, my understanding is that the people that donated it say that these could be, they didn't never. So it's a town decision as to whether you can spend the money and fix it up, or if not, then do something so that you improve the area. Either way, it's going to be an improvement.
I mean, there's two competing things that I would love to have as the mayor. I would love to be able to fix that up. And if I could go across the street and get the middle school property.
Yeah.
We have a great little corner there for a lot of things that we could do. But, we only, remember, there's only 550 of us and,
That would make for a tremendous area for the town.
absolutely. I mean, we could put a little overhead crosswalk, so you don't have to go across, you can take the bridge across. The ball field. Now, I'm not starting a rumor, but as you know, the county is building a new multi-ball field right outside of town by 33 and 522. So that's going to be 4 brand new ball fields. So we're not sure if the Little League is going to continue to use the league here, or they're going to move to the big complex because it has new facilities. So that might come back to us. And again, whether we decide to keep it as a ball field or develop that along, I mean, there's a lot of potential there. It's just us really brainstorming and deciding how we can do it and not cost us an arm and a leg, and grants is gonna be the way to have to do it.
So clarification on that, the town already does.
Well,
But they're committed that the Little League can use it and has used it forever.
yeah,
But the Little League may not want to continue
right.
to maintain it and do the stuff, because if they have tournaments, they're gonna have really got 4 ball fields. Not the one in Louisiana.
Right. So thank you for that clarification. Right, we just don't know if they're gonna keep it or not. And if not, then
The Little League's bursting at the seams, though, let me tell you. I can't imagine that they're not gonna still be using Let Field in some capacity, because they don't have enough space to practice and have games
Yeah.
as the county has grown and as the program has grown.
All right, let's move ahead and at, what was it? We just finished number 7. Number 8, foster the inclusion of additional vacant properties into the plan for the enhanced public use of recreational entertainment public venue of the town-owned park in the area of Luckfield Playground, love sign, surrounding property, and I'm gonna say surrounding property around the ball diamond. And my very reason for that is what you were talking about.
Right.
If the town could get the old school, that would be another diamond, another accomplishment for overall facilities in the town. 9, advocate for restriction to be placed on tractor trailer traffic through the town mineral historic downtown center. And Louisa Avenue and First Street, prohibit the parking of any tractor trailers along these streets overnight and specific. So that's the first same thing we just spoke of pertaining to the market. And I always thought that there was a prohibition of overnight parking along Mineral Avenue. I don't know if it's still in existence. I know it did.
You know, I read that a while back, but I haven't really gone back into. But I thought that there was something too, because I think you and I talked about it several years ago.
Y'all stop me when you want to. Number 10, foster the economic development of existing businesses and promote additional new businesses in light commercial, general commercial, and future prospects interested in the PUD location in accordance with and as permitted in the town zoning ordinance. That's just a general, promote and encourage it. Number 11, promote continued affiliation and increased participation with the Virginia Main Street program. We've had very little involvement with them, but I think that it would be good to maximize the usage of their help, guidance, and assistance.
And the Chamber of Commerce has offered to come in, I think they were successful in Louisa County to come in and tackle it here.
Do you think we need to throw that in there too? Or
Look, it's a roadmap, so I wouldn't.
you want me to just throw that in as a addition with this versus making another number?
Yeah, that's part of it.
With the Virginia Main Street overlay. As well as the County Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah.
While we're going over this. Okay. Next page. And I didn't number thing on me. Including encouragement of storefront businesses to be located in the street level and long-term housing and upstairs levels. Height of building not to exceed 3 total floors. I think our code already limits to 3 levels, 3 floors. And only occupied and or long-term rental leases permitted, 1 year length or more, short-term leases not permitted. This again is in that historic district. Any feedback on that, whether that's reasonable or not, that you can limit leases to long-term or not?
Do we have a strong reasoning for not wanting short-term leases on?
I don't know.
So let me, I happen to be up on this only because I sit on the planning commission for the county. So the short-term leasing is illegal in Louisa County for everybody. The problem is they allow it, and it got so big that they didn't have the fortitude to face the masses and say, you can't do that. So they've modified it to allow it as long as it's not over a certain amount of days. Because as you know, for those of you that see a lot of people go to the lake, they rent for a couple of weeks. Now, long-term, that's a different thing, but the short-term was something for over 1.5 years. The county has been really going back and forth, and there is quite a movement. At Orange, I'm sure there may be a movement there, so.
Can't enforce it, and the state of Virginia is trying to get some other stuff changed for short-term rentals anyway, so for the Airbnb.
Yes.
And it's in the favor of the Airbnb.
Yeah.
It just can't be enforced.
I mean, there are restrictions, there are a lot of things that you can put in place as to how you approach them.
Right.
Maybe you just may wanna focus on what aspect of it is that you're concerned about, is it the existence of it, is it, concerns about certain problems that can occur in short-term rental situations? I think you may be, but there are ways to address some of those things. And that fall within kind of where you have the authority to talk about their property, but, and that fall within your mandate. So I think it depends on sort of what your goals are.
I guess since this is my wording, my thought was. In the downtown area, you want to encourage the people to live in the upstairs part and have businesses in the lower part. But if you're living in the upstairs part, you don't want it to be weekly rental or monthly rental and transient changing all the time. You prefer that it be the owners or long-term occupants,
Well-
whatever the definition of long-term
Yeah.
is, and I just put a year.
But, and I agree, I mean, look at the problem that we're having, and let's call it what it is, over by the VFW. That is not a motel, folks. That is an apartment complex, but we keep calling it a motel. And, over the last year and a half, the police have raided that for prostitution, for drug, and it's just, it's the way it is. Now, there is a new owner and, they're in the midst of cleaning it up and stuff, but, those are really short-term rentals because you see people coming and going all the time.
I guess I would just say, does it benefit the town more to allow short-term rentals, but place limitations and conditions on it? Short-term rentals can be a great way to increase tax revenue. They can be a great way to showcase the charm of the town. And as Louisa is growing, which invariably it is, and as tourism is growing in Louisa County because of the lake, which there's not really any stopping that, it would be wise for us to make a plan to play this to the town's benefit, right? And increase ultimately our revenue. So if a business owner wanted to run an Airbnb in the second floor of their business, we're not talking about the motel situation, right? We're talking about people who are paying $120 a night to stay in a cute little small town. Oh, way more than that. But we're talking base,
In reality, I was thinking, explaining to people, like, Lord.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, this would not be good for them.
We need to get ahead of it. We need to determine,
Easily.
I've been here since 2000 and Tony and I on the planning, we talked about, we need to update our ordinances because if we don't, we're going to be running after.
Right.
And people have already come in now, found out that the cost of property here in Mineral is a bargain, and look what's going on. I mean, we got townhouses, we got, 2 streets going to be opening up over here. And we got 14 possible houses down by Miss Ball's house. So, I mean, it's happening, and yet here we have this time that authorizes 324 units. It's going to mix. If we're going to update and change it, we got to do it before
Amazon gets here.
well, so that's a scary thought. If somebody came in and decided they don't want to put a pod there, they're just going to buy the whole land and.
What, $2 billion of investment? The county of Louisa, the governor's made it, it's been, put out there.
Well, I mean, look at
it'll be-
Al Solar has just
Absolutely.
gone off.
We're almost behind. We got too much stuff to do.
But all of that is
Scary.
revenue for our county that it's not burdening our systems, right? We're not gonna have extra cars on the road because of that. We're not gonna have extra kids in the school. We're not gonna have more kids signing up for Little League because of those types of investments. So I almost think that the short-term stuff is something we want to encourage, We just need to get ahead of it and put regulations in place, and that's really obviously outside of our scope, that's the council.
So here's something, just so you know. In the town of Mineral, we don't follow Lisa's
Right,
rules. So you guys.
They get from there.
correct.
As far as the zoning is concerned.
That's right. So this collective body really, and the council set what we in the limit want to do. So,
And it comes down to kind of how I'm answering all your questions. It's kind of, it's what do you want to do? I already have a kind of in pieces and working on reviewing and reading the code. And I have a little list on a notebook that's by my desk. Of questions to ask and things to do, but that's the thing to reach out to me for if we want to cover this or that goes in my notes. And that can all be put together in recommended drafts based on your input. That's maybe 3 drafts I don't have to write.
So on the line, the key thing I believe is, if we're going to place some limit of rentals, because there's no question, you're not going to say you can't rent it. Don't want to do that. But do I just leave it like this and ask the planning district to come up with some good words on it, or what do we want to start with?
I think that's a good brainstorming for them, and at the same time.
Provide that we have.
Everybody go out and do a little homework just to see what, places you've gone to visit. See what they have.
Right,
Do you wanna leave in the short-term rental, short-term leases are not permitted? Or do you wanna leave that open for discussion, because if you leave that in and they take it and get a copy of this, they're gonna put in that it's.
So you want me to just scratch it all together?
I just put a short-term rentals with a question mark.
right.
Yeah.
All right.
Possible conditions,
I think if we could come up with a framework of
a code.
regulations and a code and present that to town council, and I think the sooner we do that, the better. I think it will only be a benefit to the.
Short-term leases in the HGC area, or do you want to put in all of town? Is it different in there versus just all of town?
Well, so I would remind you, for those that haven't experienced it, when the nuclear power plant shuts down, there's quite a few people in this town that take in orders for
All
6-12 weeks, so. Technically, that's a short-term rental, that's why
Right,
I wouldn't want to be the one to tell them. They can't do that.
I think that short-term leases should be allowed in the town, but I think the code should apply to the whole town, not just the HDC. Again, that's a way that if you tax it,
Right.
that's a way that it can benefit us during outages.
Right, but if you do that, then those people coming in means that the people that are having those individuals stay with them
Right,
means that this household who is trying to get extra money now has to pay a fee
right,
for one person in that
Yeah.
room, where they're just trying to have them here so they can help fix the problem.
Yeah.
So I don't know, that's kind of like an emergency situation, I don't know.
The town has a fee for,
Only for what, and I'm using this word for legitimate hotel business.
right. And any type of privately owned property that's listed on Airbnb isn't gonna fall under that type of.
Right, but that was one of the things that the county was struggling with, because there was a company that made it their business to look at Airbnb and then provide the county, hey, you got X amount, you're losing revenue on these.
Well, there are counties that go out and look at Airbnb so that they can send out statements to say, we need you to fill out your transient tax form and pay that fees, because they're doing, whole houses or part of a house. So I just feel like, I think it's tricky, right? It's tricky when you have someone who's just trying to help a situation and they need a place to stay. There's not a whole lot around hotel wise or whatever. And you have an Airbnb situation where someone's coming and spending money to enjoy it.
Well, but when people stay, so when people come to work the outage and they come from all over to work at North Anna, they have a per diem to stay and they're paying homeowners to stay with them. So it's not, they are helping them out and there are some very gracious hosts in our town, many of whom I know. Who do this and provide this service and it's necessary and it's needed and it's good. But they are being paid for it. So we're not stripping anybody of their, income or burdening them by putting a small, and I mean very small, I think Spotsylvania does. I think it's 1.5, it might be 2% of the total revenue for any short term. Do you know? I feel like you probably have.
Let me talk.
You know.
And I just think, I'm caught and I understand. I'm gonna suggest that the last sentence still needs to be there because we want to talk about it. Do something. Not sure what. Short-term leases in the town/HDC, because we talked about the whole town, or we talked about the HDC, and maybe they're the same, maybe they're different. Should be evaluated for policies and conditions. And leave it at that.
Absolutely.
All right.
So just not to beat a dead horse, though, there is like the transit occupancy, the occupancy tax is something that tourism groups are using to, feed their budget, to some degree. We don't have any property like that really in town but it's not the business, it's not the owner of the home, it's the people that's coming in that's paying it, like just absolutely, supporting what you just said. It's not gonna be a burden for our homeowner. But it is for people coming and staying, they pay a tax and they don't look at that, they just.
Well, they pay, so what they do is they pay the homeowner. And the homeowner has to file the revenue that they get from the short-term rental and pay the annual tax.
Yeah.
So no, it's not taken from their,
But they have to collect.
but they have to collect it. And the transient tax is literally, yes, this is how much I made. Wink, wink. Because it could be, that's not, I mean, it's literally just.
And it's done quarterly, and there is, it works called transient occupancy tax return.
Yeah.
And I think they did raise it to 6%.
We can look, because I know.
It's Foxy.
What is
It used to be significantly lower.
You're right, before it was 2%.
Okay, I was gonna.
But in January 1st of 2024, the rate will increase to 7%.
Is that in Louisiana County?
Yes, sir.
Wow.
Because of the lakes, think about when you go to the beach with your family for vacation, you pay for a weekly rent, that's your vacation. That tax comes out of that.
Yes.
Well, what if
Homeowner, like the homeowner that you rent from is paying that every year, and it's just the cost of doing business, frankly. There's no reason our county should.
$25 or $50 they add up for the Wi-Fi, and what is that tax they're calling? They're not calling it tax, they're calling it some type of fees.
Surcharge.
Yes, that's.
Ancillary fee, yeah. All right, let's move on. All right, well, promote and encourage development of the traffic bypass, and I'm not gonna read all that. But I did prepare a resolution for council's consideration a year ago, a year and a half ago. And it tied 3-3, and the mayor voted to kill it. So it didn't get passed. And I will offer that to you all to consider, and if you're interested in the bypass, what this is dealing with is the county is trying to run all the tractor trailer traffic through the town of Mendel, which it has been going up that Chopping Road. That's the name of the road, just past the high school, at the Dickinson store. So they're wanting to force move them off of that, to force move all of it through here.
because the residents on Chopping have made a big stink about the tractor trailer traffic. And I will say, I ride my bike
Sure.
down there and it is terrifying.
Yes.
But I don't necessarily want that happening here either.
No, but there's a couple solutions for that, but it's costly. You know, it's gonna cost money to do it and they're. You know,
Yeah.
I'm all for this, but it needs to be done
Right.
like.
I have
Counts,
research. I don't
They've
think
talked about bypasses for years here,
Yeah,
and the people on council didn't want us to do it because they said we
The
would. They always say everywhere, they will hurt the town if you do a bypass. It's not-
I've seen the movie Cars, so part of me does think, oh no.
Right. So to me,
But I do like the idea of no tractor
I'm
trailer.
only speaking for myself. You know, I think that the town would be better off if they didn't have all that being jammed into the town, because it's already caused accidents at that railroad crossing, that big high thing that's there, that's,
if there was a way they could do a flyover. Literally in Charles, is that what it's called, where you drive underneath?
Oh, on 29.
Oh, my. It made tremendous.
Yes.
difference.
I can tell you,
It's wonderful.
the quickest bypass for this town, would be, you wouldn't have to buy any land unless it's to the size for widening, is to come down 522 and turn at Tollersville Road.
Yeah.
Go down Tollersville Road, hit 618, and then turn on Micah and come back out over there on 522 at Pendleton.
Well, that's my other one.
The road is not suitable for it. It would have to be greatly improved, but that would be the way to do it. It's not the shortest route. But anyway,
Yeah, Taylorsville has low lines, and it's very narrow.
yeah, yeah. But that is a way.
Definitely.
If y'all will indulge me, I'll just leave it on the list and how long it will take to do it, and who's got the.
Thinking through.
Number 13, promote increased communication between the town and use of public schools. I'm just saying, we have never done anything, I don't think, as a town to endear us more with the schools and form some sort of partnership. And you know, bring some students here, let them get some learning and help us. And also, I can't believe that businesses haven't seen we're the closest town to the school by far, much closer than Weaver.
So some of the businesses have
CT.
had some students. Some have worked out, some haven't. You know, part of the problem is the soft skill set of the kids. A lot of work that needs to be done there.
But if we could, just promote being an interested partner with the schools, I think that it would probably pay dividends. And maybe somebody would build some things that the school being there will provide, you know, the necessary customers.
Yeah, and the school in their budget is actually making a new STEM building that's gonna be like 2 or 3 times the size as it is now. Yeah, and
It's gonna be pretty awesome.
yeah, because I know on the aviation side, we're talking about doing the mechanics for jet engines and airplanes and stuff, and actually donating a couple airplanes to them so they can work on them.
Okay, I'm gonna move on because all of it, the talking is great, we need to do it, and let's get it done tonight. Promote the 14, promote the creation of a capital improvements plan, we're supposed to already be doing that, don't think it's ever been done with planning commission input. So I put it on there because it is something we're supposed to do. Okay. 15, ensure the capital improvements maintain and the plan and budget for the town's water and sewer system. Again, that's a big money ticket there, so that ought to be emphasized. Number 16, promote the beautification town of Mineral, support Mineral Historic Foundation. All this stuff here. Very wordy. Any problems with the general nature of what it's saying? The last sentence is all properties in the town of Mineral shall be properly managed and maintained by the respective owners to maintain property value and public safety of surrounding property owners. I think somewhere in here it says something, and I know in the existing comp plan, it says that things will be done in order to deal with poorly maintained houses and properties.
Like,
code enforcement.
Right, that's
So. The building department of the county has a responsibility to inspect and verify the properties that are run down. And has the ability to enforce that.
it's done once here about 3 years.
we actually have to ask her, when them in.
So I don't know who.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get my hand slapped, but someone said that they were going to start looking at these properties and possibly charging them. So
Yeah, I don't know.
you got.
And that,
I don't know how they even do that though, Nicole.
The bill, well, it's because it's an issue for public safety. If, if it's close to the road and it falls down and tears down a line, then it's,
So like this
That's
building,
going into I-17. Like,
yeah, all I can tell you is that we had to call the county to come look at this 2-story next to,
yeah,
and it was like pulling teeth initially.
But the building inspector came down.
Yeah,
And condemned it.
Yep.
And after condemning it, then the property owner had to remove it or repair it, restore
and they finally removed, destroyed it.
well, and I think
it.
the,
Exxon used to be next to that.
Beside the Exxon building, I think, block, I mean, it.
I think the big, issue here is there's only one code enforcement officer in all of Louisa County.
Wow.
It's a huge county. Yeah, so, we see it, we report it.
this would be the building official. So
Right.
when it comes to the public safety and clear or building stuff, the building official has to get involved.
Okay.
And or inspector.
And or fire marshal.
So the code enforcer is for the zoning code and to enforce that, however it needs to be done. And then your building official / fire marshal, yeah.
And Tony, you were saying something about funding and helping people do it. I think in number 17, it says seek funding and grants to assist in efforts to correct problems through rehabilitation, removal or historical appropriation, replacement, invite participation of the town beautification committee and the school's trade school program. That's in there because the school trade program does get involved and does help, and what your guidelines are on who can and who they can't help, but they do go out in the community and do stuff.
They did, I mean, they would, a lot of times to Walton Park and rebuilt the stage, and Tommy Runnett certainly uses them for a lot of his automobiles and also building the garage and stuff as part of their, free training that they get.
So are we okay? We want to do something.
Yeah.
Set the stage.
Not to back up, but I just wanted to ask a question about the historic, mineral, municipal building, that building there, and just how it looks, and is there any guidelines for that?
Talking about our old town hall.
Yes, but I do not like what's going on. I mean, that is so crazy what's going on.
That problem with Express Lane, the thing that's supposed to become a museum is town.
Okay.
It had been rented for a couple of years by.
By church.
Yeah.
And there was an ice cream there.
He shot.
But it fell into disrepair and wasn't being kept up at the time of the pandemic.
Yep.
And so now the Historic Foundation asked if they could take occupancy of it and or not build, but make it the town museum. And there is a contract for that, but I don't know if it's ever been signed and finalized or what.
It has, and,
I'm ready to take it over. No, I'm just kidding.
well, you should, have a conversation with Ron, because he's the president of it.
Because we probably have two different cases now. I did not like what's going on. Like those fake flowers out there, I can't believe that anybody allowed that. I mean, town to have those crazy fake flowers in front of that building. That says something about us, actually. It really does.
I haven't even do this. I feel like I should.
I don't go that way very often.
Blissfully unaware.
Look at it.
It's the history and the knowledge and like everything that's in there. I learned so much. when
Is it
I was
open?
in there. It's, they had a community day or something, and so we took the kids over. But, just to see what was going on,
Yeah.
And I get it.
I'll pass on. Yeah, somebody told me that the plastic flowers.
I mean, I'm aware of it. Anybody not that's better.
How are you gonna stop that? That's part of our problem in this whole thing.
If I'm gonna stop it, you can't.
And to tell people, but you can't tell people what they can and cannot do on their property to a certain extent.
But it's it's ours.
But there, we can get. I agree with you totally.
The funeral flowers, like, flowers. I mean. Better now.
Please tell them.
Yes, I don't know, but I won't use your name.
She told them.
Yeah, she's offered to. Yeah, put plant.
Beautify.
Yeah.
That just said a lot of stuff. I mean,
Well taken. All right, well taken. Yeah, the town does need for it to look back. Okay,
18.
so we took care of 16, 17.
Yep, number 18.
18, make the town of Mineral welcoming to seniors and families and kids. Bye, second. Okay. And then evaluate town-owned properties, buildings and facilities. There you go. We have to put in something about no fake.
not keep that
In and around Luck Field to identify and catalog all the current uses and consider opportunities for increased.
You know what's so kid and senior friendly?
Uh,
You know what is so kid and senior friendly?
What? yeah, yeah.
And crosswalks.
I can't imagine why they have not done crosswalks more in this town, but I've always been told that VDOT says they can't justify it. I don't understand.
I think
Somebody needs to
Kids
talk and be-
beg to ride their bikes to the store so they can like get something from the vending machine.
And the streets here are wide as can be. I mean, there's stuff that can be done.
The people just.
We're just a little too far down the street too. I think if we were like even up, like even just where Phil is, I think I'd be like, yeah, go ride your bikes, but.
We need to hire, you need to hire a town cop.
At a 25-mile-per-hour speed limit, then I'd be like, no.
Number 19, promote the continuation of the professional. Promotion continue, thank you.
There's a lot.
Ride by town, DMV office. I just would think that we need to blow the horn of DMV.
Yeah.
And keep them in town.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so now these dark color ones, 20 through 22 are ones that I have added. Number 20 was Lauren's idea from our last meeting, consider and develop guidelines, instruction procedures. And routes to conduct of public parades that are safe, civic, and community united. That say that. Okay. All right, so.
And it can literally be what organizations are already doing, because I think it's being done well. I would just hate to see new organization leaders come in and
Right.
change it and then it not be, no
The
guidelines.
key thing to me is that the town of Mineral needs to be asked, not just assumed that they can have a parade without the town of Mineral knowing about it and authorizing it. I don't know if that happens or not, but. I don't
Most
know.
municipalities, in order to have a parade in that municipality, there's a little form, an application you have to fill out. Your town manager can approve it. It's not a big deal. And then there's a small fee associated with it. And again, this is just another way that we can like continue to encourage these things, these great things that our community is doing, but also
Right.
we benefit from it, right?
Well, we just discussed that Louisa wanted to hold their annual Christmas parade in Mineral. And some people thought that that was a given, and it was done, and it was approved, it was gonna happen, but then it ended up being that.
Because their business organization came together and put pressure on the county's parking regs about having it in Louisa. And so they acquiesced because they didn't hear much fight from this side, and that's why I went there. That's what I was told. I wasn't a part of that discussion, but it was coming here until they circled the wagons and said, wait a second, why does Mineral get this and they got the fall? They were feeling,
So that's why I'm saying,
Yep.
I don't know if Mineral knew about it and approved it,
yeah,
but Louisa ought to be approving theirs and Mineral ought to be approving it.
right, and for like the school thing, they asked us several months ago.
So you probably should have some process.
Yeah.
You know,
And
some basic.
truthfully, from my point of view, I think the county should probably kick it every other year to the other one. And let's not get into us versus them type of situation.
But isn't that always been the thing?
Well, it probably has, but what we're trying to do is, at least what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make
Peace.
the supervisors understand that Mineral is one of two towns that make up the county, and we're not going to be the stepchild anymore. Because there's a lot of people that thought that just because we weren't.
We are smart.
Well, we weren't exerting, hey, what about us? We were just kind of doing our thing. And so I've been a little bit more of a cheerleader for the town. And some of these things that are happening, I would hope is because people are seeing that, we're trying to drive in a different direction.
Indeed. All right, so 21, 21 and 22, ideas that someone expressed to me. And so I put it on paper. Number 21, work with the Thomas Jefferson Planning District. Any other resources necessary to determine why and how to fix the long documented, unsuccessfully corrected GPS street addressing in town. When I first got on council in 2020, I brought that because it's been a problem in my house. There's GPS doesn't work between 0 and 200 on Mineral Avenue. That's from the Mineral Restaurant to the light. For whatever reason, when it was created, they didn't put it in there, and they've never been able to solve it. I asked the GPS people, gurus at the county level about it. Nothing they've really been able to do. My wife went to Abigail Spanberger about it. She expressed an interest in it, but never happened. Nothing happened. I understand that there's other places in town too. Yours, I think.
Yeah, they always say my place doesn't exist, and I've been there since '67. I think what it is I had a conversation some time ago, is the state via the county has a GIS database that you can send in, and that's how they update the things. I mean, if you go to Google, I don't know if you've seen your little van with their cameras come through town, but they're collecting stuff and
Anybody trying to find my house, which is 94 Avenue, put it in GPS or whatever
Yep.
device you use. It's gonna send you to the stoplight. Say you're coming from Culpeper or Orange, it's gonna send you to the stoplight, tell you to turn left. My house is to the right, but it'll tell you to turn left. And as soon as you get to where the just past the VFW hall, where that motel you're talking about is, it'll say you for a ride. That somehow, in some reason, why. But sometimes they tell people to go to Piedmont Avenue too. If I turn right and am getting ready to drive into my driveway, it tells me to go up to Airport Road and make a U-turn.
So
And
GPS is calculated using a lot of things like the vans, but also the GIS. And I actually have a long held belief that there, is incorrect data in the GIS regarding the town of Mineral. How many of you cannot receive Amazon packages at your home?
You're not supposed to.
No, Amazon specific, like UPS can come to your house, but I think there are addressing issues in the.
But let me tell you what the post office told me, and I'm gonna interrupt you, but, because I said, do you mean that I am not allowed to give them my street address to deliver my Amazon package? Down at the post office. No, you can't. You have to give them the PO box and you have to put that it's 611 and it has to come to the post office for you to pick it up. So I think it has something to do with the postal system not allowing that to happen.
I don't know, I'm
Well,
on.
I'm the first or the last, depending on who's delivering mail.
Yeah.
Because I have a mailbox.
Right, I have a mailbox as well, so everything comes to my house, but
And I don't, and they are.
Right.
Most people in the town don't.
right,
They didn't used to allow it, but some years ago.
somebody got an exception at my house, and I'm benefiting from that now.
Right.
because We moved in and had. But I do think I've noticed particularly on East First Street, the homes that all face First Street, they're addressed as First Street, but a lot of them have driveways on the crossroads. And so I think that they are being taxed differently, like their tax address is not the same as their street address. And that's the reason that like Amazon doesn't, because if you gave Amazon your street address, UPS would show up at your house and you could accept deliveries there. I mean. the post office, But they will do it.
Last example, the house right across from me, which is now unoccupied, been sold, it's 101 Mineral Avenue. Express Lane is 101, but they're first,
Street.
but there's still 101 as well. And that house over there all the time gets stuff that's meant for the Express Lane. And maybe vice versa.
I think it's really specific to First Street and Fifth Street
Mm.
on that side of the railroad tracks.
All I do is get some entity involved.
They're
Trying to deal with it.
to work with the county and with their GIS. And now I only know this because Orange has a GIS department and we have to work with him to get addressing. And he works with Google to get everything put into the system so that it's appropriately type it in, work correctly. Because we had to abandon a street and reroute it, so we had to work to do that. So you do have to work with the county's GIS, so it is something that it should be in here. And the planning district, they can do that for it.
That's what's going on. 22, accomplish an overdue Mineral Town Charter review comparison to the Mineral Town Code and prepare a charter update request and submit to the General Assembly for required consideration and approval. The plan is 5 years long, so sometime in 5 years, I would think that somebody ought to evaluate the charter versus the code and pick out the quirks. And just so we have some general understanding. The simplest thing is that the charter says you have a quorum with 3, the town code says you have a quorum with 4. Well, it only makes sense that it'd be 4 because there are 6 council members. 3 would only be 50-50, 4 is a majority. So the charter, I don't know how they 100 years ago came up with 3. Maybe they didn't maybe the mayor wasn't independently elected, I don't know, like it is now. But that's one example. There's a whole lot of inconsistency between the charter and the code, and our previous lawyer advised the town not to pursue it because she said if you send it to the General Assembly and ask them for a specific change, that throws the barn door open for them to look at anything in your charter and tell you not only do you have to do that, but you got to change a lot of other things and maybe add and whatever. And that she just said pretty much leave well enough alone.
That's
I
the
don't know, that's,
But the charter does need to be updated, you know, and I'll just.
you can't change it, but through the general assembly.
Exactly, but as the mayor, there's no skin in how you, from a council's point of view or the town manager's point of view. You guys can burn the place down and the mayor can't get blamed for any of it because I'm ceremonial. I kiss babies. I mean, that's what it says. So how, why, if I don't have any skin in it, would I care? Because you can't blame me. And my thought process is, look, I gotta have some skin in the game to help, you know, so that I have a say and am responsible instead of washing my hands. So there are things in the charter that I think need to be updated, but I'm almost afraid to, like you said, open up the door because who knows what else could be coming through the door that we.
I just always assumed the charter was like the Constitution and the code was like the amendments to the Constitution, right?
The charter is what forms the town.
Okay.
It gives its permission to basically tax and stuff. And back when we had the charter, the town of Mineral had a court system. We had a school system. We had a police force.
You had a jail.
We had a jail. So that's really the components of being a town.
Right.
But we've lost all that and, you know, as you all know, when I decided that nobody cared, I opted to, well, maybe we don't need a charter and you see where that got me elected mayor.
Well, you're kind of right.
If you do it and it opens up doors, they may tell you have to have a police and you have to have this and you have to have a jail and you have to have these things that we tell them.
Or we can't afford either necessarily either. I mean, again, I remind you, although we have growth and stuff, there's only, the census says there's about 550 people. And that's 550, that doesn't mean every 550 are working adults making money for the town.
Well, to me, you brought up good things. You have to, everyone here. To me, it makes sense to put it on the table for consideration. And, you know, if you decide you gotta evaluate where there's inconsistency between the charter and the code.
Yeah.
And then if you send it to the General Assembly,
Risks versus
Well,
benefits.
yeah,
But
it's something that needs to be done. So if they say you can't do all these things and remain a town, then is when you do give up the charter. And don't be a town, you just an unincorporated town. But you can't just ignore it, and in my opinion, you can't just ignore it and be inconsistent and you know, sit there knowing all that and not dealing in some way with it and facing whatever the future.
well, and you know, we have the power, like you said, we could, you know, appoint people to be a conservator of the peace within the town limit of Mineral. And he or she would have arrest authority, can actually enforce. Okay, you know what? We're gonna make you the town enforcement building inspector.
Several Hanover deputies have volunteered.
It sounds like a very expensive insurance policy.
Yeah.
For one, 18.
Well, I was telling them today, I'm like, this town reminds me of Andy Griffith.
Well, we had the power to do that as a town, we just don't exercise it because it's like. Lauren, you hit the nail on the head. You know what the insurance costs?
It sounds like.
Having a civilian who does part-time Barney Fife type thing. Holy smokes, yeah, so that's not. And that's why we really do have to sit down and really brainstorm different segments and see, you know, if something works or doesn't work. Or whether we just say, you know what, let's go to the sheriff's department and let's pay for a part-time deputy.
Yeah.
That because we're paying the county for half of his or her time, they'll spend at least half of their time within our little community. Now, the sheriff's department, as far as I'm concerned, has been wonderful because I've seen them camping out all over the place and stuff. But I don't think that we have a big crime spree going on or other things now. Speeding is probably the big thing. But yeah, I mean, there are ways of tackling it. Same with the building inspector. Can we hire somebody to get some on-the-job training with the county and then bring him or her back here to be our part-time? So the county gets to use that person half-time and we're paying for half the time. Yeah, I mean, that's a possibility. It just depends on how you guys want to do it. But with so many other things we got going on, where's the priority?
Any objection to bringing this in?
Yeah, no, I think it's.
The thing is just, I mean, just to throw this out here too, I think it's really important because it's also, as what you mentioned, what do we want to be? What are we actually really want to be? And so if we're wanting to like have a 55+ community and also like develop that kind of community, you know what I'm saying? I mean, that's gonna be very important for them to see that and feel comfortable, you know what I mean? And so.
And to look to the future, like if you're having more houses and more residential areas being built because of Amazon coming in, yeah, there might not be issues now. But in 5-10 years from now, what does it look like?
And the pub right now has restriction to over 55. That was the only way that got passed this council.
So we could like market that as being 55+ community, but.
You can't do anything else but.
That's not any kind of investor, that's why nothing is, I don't think I knew that.
Yeah, that was,
That's a great.
yeah.
That's like-
That was the only way that it passed that council is they didn't want anybody under the age of 55. Because they, again, in their thinking, you get younger people, you get.
New ways of thinking, more kids,
schools.
more parents.
I thought it was just a component.
No.
The whole thing is supposed to be.
Absolutely, that is one of the conditions.
I've never read it, I know.
No. Yeah,
Okay, so we're gonna wrap this thing up. 23-5 are just boilerplate, things, this is eliminating all references to town expanding Walton Park in the current comprehensive plan, because that's still there and the town doesn't own it any longer, so that's a given. 24, update all statistics, charts, pictures, diagrams in the current CP, so again, we want TJPDC to do that. 25 is update or revise other details in past and present, the budgets, the population projections, the town growth areas, history of the town. They say something in here versus 100 years, it's really over 120 years now since. Yeah, because it was 1902, I think, so now we're at 23. And before you get up and jump to go out of here, I have. But before I tell you these, does anybody have any more to add? Because again, I'd like more of y'all's ideas and
I guess.
Very thorough, Ed.
I guess what I would ask you, even though we don't own the old park, would that be in our interest to kind of?
well, you could possibly have fun to get it, but what it said was that we were going to
Yeah.
develop it, and
Right,
lots of other stuff.
I just don't know what the fire department's vision is and stuff, and I'm just thinking,
I could tailor that to.
Right.
To updating the fact that it's there, it's in the town,
yeah,
but it's owned by the fire department.
right,
Or supporting the fire departments, right, cooperating with the fire department and their vision to develop.
So real quickly, I would like to suggest these other ones be added, and they're from things that are going on here. One, promote and encourage the broadband, high-speed internet access availability to all residences and businesses in the town of Menlo. We already know it's coming, the county's put it everywhere. But right now, there's Comcast that's here, but it's just down Mineral Avenue and in some places not all over the town. And I don't want to see that be what turns out again here, that it's just the primary roads in the town and not the off streets and all that. So is that worth putting in?
That absolutely is worse, because that's the argument I'm having that report.
Okay. So the next one is investigate funding for an acquisition of the historic train depot station used for welcoming center, information booth, and starting more on town walking. If you look back at your existing comprehensive plan, it talks about the history of preserving the historic train station and using it for a welcome center. So I would like to put in there, again, try to get funding on, and you can't hardly protect it and preserve it if you don't own it one way or the other. So I would like to encourage pursuing that. If they give it to us, just like nobody thought we'd get the farmer's market.
Yeah, and this seems to me now that the Commonwealth owns the railroad, we ought to contact the Commonwealth and say, can we have this depot? And we'll keep it up.
Yeah,
So,
take it off your hands.
and
It's filled with junk, just like the other building though. It has a bunch of like old refrigerators and
yeah, but we.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, they have junk around it too. But again, it's not CSX, it's not CSX and it's Buckingham Branch.
No, it's not, it's.
Welcome.
Yep.
Yeah.
A meeting center, like for people want to, Dominion wanting to have an office space to meet with their executives, right? That sort
For
of.
the Beaver Dam train depot, they rent it out for like weddings and stuff too.
In Orange, of course, they have a very nice one. It was at one time. So again, we ought to be.
My hometown acquired their train station. My hometown acquired their train station to put they leased half of it as a restaurant.
Yeah.
And then the railroad was still working and they did like some kind of little museum in part of it. And it ended up being very successful, nice. There's plenty of options.
Have somehow done something. Yeah, you there. Lawrenceville had to move there. Somehow it kind of stalled. What to become of it. But I think that we ought to be jumping on letting the state know that we want to see it preserved. We would like to obtain it so that it can be properly used. And they tell you whether they say you gotta move it or not, because sometimes they have to be moved and other times they're left right where they're. So there's no, I don't think, by law requirement that they have to be moved.
Right.
All right, so. Got here, investigate funding and assist with preservation of the old jail. I've heard people, say, particularly historic people here now, that they'd like to have that done, tear off the other wings of it and just leave the little portion. Y'all know what I'm talking about.
I think you all need to take a trip over next to Gibson's.
Gibson's Garage.
It's our garage.
Where the Lisa gets place.
Okay.
That was the jail.
It's the old.
And look at that, I'm telling you, I'm not sure it's worth it.
It probably is, but that building used to be the maintenance shop where they parked all their equipment. Town built a new one over here below the Fireman's Fair property on Louisa Avenue. So all the stuff is now maintained there. So this building is run down in poor shape and all. It's right beside Gibson's Garage and they use it to park cars and all while they're repairing. So forth there, but inside of that 3-bay facility, right towards the right-hand side, if you see it, there's a roof that extends up a little bit higher with a chimney on it. That is the old jail that's encompassed by stalls on either side.
No idea.
Yeah.
One hundred building,
Wait.
the beauty shop.
No. No? And if you bring it back, is it? I'm just- Anyway.
It's not in very good shape at all, but it's just 2 rooms.
Yep.
And there was a place, I guess, for an old wood stove that's up there, you know. There was no air conditioning to it, just little windows with metal in it. You couldn't have the.
I don't think that.
But you need to see it. I've heard that, you know, they'd like to see if they could restore that and have it as a place on a walking tour. So if there was money for it, that's what that's in here for. And then behind that game, the historic folks talked about the old cemetery at the end of Second Street. And to try to get funding to do the whatever you call it, X-ray or something in the ground to look for graves that are unmarked and identify.
Yeah.
It has been overgrown.
It's terrible. I went there several months ago and it's like somebody,
So the town owned and operated it up until like the 50s.
Yep.
Abandoned it
yep,
and nothing's gone on there somewhere in the 50s, I believe. And you cannot see it from the road when you go to the end of Second Street, there's a turnaround. It's right across the field and in the woods.
On this side of the railroad tracks, Second Street.
About turn beside Lewis Keller's house and the burned out,
less.
Yeah.
go all the way down the end of that.
Other side of Main Street.
Yeah. Go all.
That was a cemetery.
There was a cemetery there, the town, I guess, still owns.
Yeah, we own it.
It's kind of terrifying back there.
Oh, yeah.
I don't run that way anymore.
You should have. Yeah, some dogs there.
Yeah. They don't like.
But there is a picket fence there around an area. There's a monument to a soldier that's in there. There's a little.
There has to be grants in order to preserve like historic things.
The Boy Scout.
That sounds like an Eagle Scout project.
Oh, that would be good too.
A lot of these
So
things
good.
actually sound like Eagle Scout projects, and I happen to know a whole crop of incoming Eagle Scouts.
So again, a couple of things that are in the town, you want to have places people to see, things that
Yeah,
have been ignored and allowed to be covered.
The Eagle Scout project of the year, it was in Green County.
If you ever need to reach it.
They, an Eagle Scout did a historic walking tour of, I think it was the town of Rutgersville. Or it might have just been, it was Standardville, you're right, it was Standardville. And so there were like signs placed and markers, but he also built an app so that you could scan a code and it would take you virtually through the. It was an incredible Eagle Scout project and I went and saw it in Standardville. It's so cool.
Oh, I think.
No.
Investigate funding for study of Old Town Cemetery off of Second Street to locate unmarked grave sites, to mark the cemetery boundaries, and to clear and restore the sanctity and the resting place for many past town residents.
and we should cut a road right to it, so we can drive right to it.
Okay,
Yes, the train table and.
all right, that's all the list that I know of. Who's got them? Please.
I don't think there's anything.
All right, so. I would like a motion from you all to say that the planning commission has developed the list that we would like to pass along as ideas for the Thomas Jefferson Planning District to incorporate in their review and development of our comp plan. Somebody make a motion like that, because the chairman doesn't make a motion.
I have made enough motions tonight in the last meeting was called.
Through to the Thomas Jefferson. Planning is,
Motion
I will second it.
by Ms. Wild. All to pass along this list, I'll revise it to what you said tonight, just send it on to them. All in favor, say aye. Well, that passes 5-0.
I need a lesson in.
All right, so to end the meeting, y'all see any reason why y'all want to get together in December here? No, or the 21st of December meeting,
I would love to not.
who would like to make a motion to cancel the 21st of December? We probably do.
I make a motion to cancel the December.
Ms. Washington made that motion, Ms. Bullock seconded that motion. No discussion required. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Meeting for December is canceled.
We'll see you after
What's the other
January.
thing that I have on my list?
Oh.
Lost my page. Where is it?
The TJPDC on-call.
Oh, yeah,
Paper.
yeah, I put that piece of paper in there. Y'all just take that for review, consideration, be aware. Ed got that in the mail today. He sent it to me just to be aware of it. I talked with Curtis about that. Curtis says, kind of as a result of the town, I believe, wanting to ask them if they could help with the zoning administrator duties until we have somebody that's the town manager and does zoning. And they said they didn't have any means to do that, but they might be able to advise some people, but they never did. And now they're coming out with this as a scope of work of things that they can do. And they want to get together with the ability to respond quicker to people that ask for stuff in the future. I think that's a good idea. But if you look on here, a lot of the stuff that they're talking about here is stuff that we're already asking them to do for us in our $16,000 job, updating our comprehensive plan. So I think we're ahead of the curve and might benefit from that and kind of justify the money that the town's spending.
And I think it's gonna be a good thing. I don't know how many other people have hired them. Or if we're the first ones in the mix.
Yeah.
So, because remember when we had them come, it didn't cost us anything. So times are hard and
Everybody's looking for ways to pay for things.
Yeah.
But I told them that my feedback was great, it's wonderful. Y'all can do that. There'll be people that need it.
So is there a way that they can actually, when we start the process, to update the website, the update in the wall that's taking place on our website for us?
Explain that a little further, please.
So, all the work that we're asking them to do, so the updates and things of that sort, have it, just to be out there on our website, just the progress that's being made through.
I'll ask them.
Because that would be really nice, not asking staff to do it, but just having them be able to just drop it in there and.
It's not, the website that we have right now is not very user friendly. So I just shoot it's under WordPress, and WordPress is not the best, and it's not what most counties use. We have bought Civic Plus, which is what most municipalities in our region use. It's so much more user friendly, but Reese got us in the middle of a lot of things. And so like, we're trying to do this and we're trying to get a new website and we're trying to get new way to do minutes and so it's like, it can be done, but it's we're looking at moving the website soon. So, moving to Civic Plus, they can do it. They could send it to me and I can send it to what I do. They charge us $50 each time we email them and ask them to put something on the website. But it's at this point, it just makes my life easier too. And so they can, and I just tell them where to put it on the website and what it should look like. So they can't, we can get that done.
Let me pursue that with.
If they're willing to,
Curtis.
right,
WordPress is what we currently have.
Correct.
It's the new
Civic Plus,
Civic Plus. Okay, and Civic Plus is what lots of counties.
yes.
are-
Orange, Bowling Green, everybody.
So let me talk with him about it.
Cause it does our minutes, it does our agenda, it does everything. Yeah, it's amazing.
For fact of what I'm hearing here, and that, the town needs to proactively doing that to make things easy.
But for the time being, until we get Civic Plus in place right now, Ed and I are working on getting just the minutes and agenda side of it going. And once that's kind of set up, then we'll look at getting the website part of it done. But for now, if they want to send it to me and then I can forward it on to who's running our website right now and it can be, it can be done if they're willing to do it.
Folks, I've enjoyed being with you all. It's been reading.
Very lively group tonight.
If everybody is like me and ready to go home, I didn't think any motion to adjourn. Somebody make that motion, please.
I'm with you.
Oh, man.
I second.
Okay, Ms. Ball, motion to adjourn tonight's meeting at 8:45 and Williams. Second that, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Everything tonight was well, not everything. Most everything tonight was unanimous. Thank you, folks. Happy Christmas.
Agreeable.
Have a good Christmas and we'll get back together in January.